activist, author, designer, social entrepreneur, social futurist, I like that word. Also the founder of Stop Stuff, Seanne Murray, Esquire, is next.
You are tuned in to Black Hollywood Lives. Breaking into.
I am ready for success. I am success. I am ready. What you're hearing right now is my song, Ready. So it's my new song called I Am Ready. And it's about positive, motivational, I call it conscious dance music is what I'm creating. That's what I'm doing.
Like that.
We need it.
We do.
Oh my God, we need it. So badly we need it. My goodness. Hi, welcome to Breaking Into. And I am James Lott Jr., your host. We're here on Black Hollywood Live. You can find my single, I'll do a little plug, on Google Play, Amazon, and it comes out on iTunes June 15th. So I'll tell you a little fun thing there. My guest, I try to bring you, a very interesting guests who are doing things that are positive in the world because that's what I'm all about. And this guest is doing it. And I was laughing because I was reading some stuff about her, and she wants to create at least 1 million
That's right.
people out there doing social change. And we're going to talk about the 5 points she has. We're going to talk about who she is, where she's from, what Stop Stuff is. I'm so excited to have her on the show, and she's just a lovely person, which makes everything better. Seanne Murray, Esquire. How are you?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, you're doing amazing work, and we're going to let people know what it is that you are doing because it is very important work out there. But I love when you said you wanted to have 1 million people out there.
Yeah, the goal is to have 1 million leaders, activists, and social entrepreneurs to change the world. And that means 1 million people not having a march, not tweeting, not talking, but actually doing things to change the world, things that we can actually quantify.
Yes, which I think is important too because, yes, we are online and we do have our online lives, and yes, some of that can affect things, but we are humans in the world.
Yeah, and we have to interact with each other beyond. And social media is a great avenue. I mean, in some ways, social media is what kind of drove me to this because I looked at the power of millennials. Millennials are all over social media and they have so much power. So how can we take that power and turn it into activism and change? That was really a lot of the genesis of what I do now.
Yes, like that. What microphone am I on? Am I on 3 or 4? Do we know what I'm on? Hello, there I am. Okay. I can really hear myself. I couldn't hear myself for a second. This is live television, folks. I want to hear my voice.
Yes.
No, I want to hear her voice. Okay, so now perfect. Okay, so, well, first of all, before we even get into Stop Stuff and Stop Stuff Daily and all that, I just want to get a little background for people out there for who you are, where you're from, and kind of what led you to this movement.
Yeah.
So where are you from?
Well, I was born in Detroit, but I hate to say that out loud because I was only there till I was 4 years old.
Okay.
So people want to try to connect with you on certain things.
Yes.
I'm not connected to Detroit because I didn't grow up there. I grew up in Connecticut.
Oh, wow. Okay,
and I grew up primarily in Westport, Connecticut.
Okay, yes.
And that's a funny thing, being a black person who grew up in Westport, Connecticut, because we're few and far between.
Yes, you say that.
Yes, and then because of what I'm doing in terms of activism and particularly gun violence, people will say to me, "Oh, where'd you grow up?" And they think I'm going to say I grew up in Compton or East Detroit or something like that. I'm like, no, I grew up in Westport, Connecticut, but I have compassion, and that goes to what you're asking me about, kind of my background. I mean, my background professionally is business, finance, and law. Yeah. So I practice law. I've run. Yeah, I've done a whole bunch of stuff. I ran a nonprofit for Reggie White, who was a big football player at the time. Yeah, and I worked on Wall Street where I did institutional sales of convertible bonds. I was senior vice president of business development strategic initiatives for a healthcare IT company. I had my own medical education company, and then I've been out here in La La Land, where at one point I was managing a $50 million portfolio of music for Smokey Robinson and Norman Whitfield and Rick James and people like that. But I've given all of that up to do what I now know is my calling.
Stop there. Okay, this is very important because a lot of us, I'm finding, who are doing this kind of work, and I mean work in terms of getting back to the community in a way that's stronger and larger than just volunteering. Like, we're doing stuff, we're creating companies and things. it's funny. I did a lot of different things too. I was a nurse, worked in insurance. I've got several degrees and things, but when I turned 40 years old, I found my calling. So I just want to start with that kind of, let people know it's never too late to find your calling.
Oh God, no. I mean, finding your calling, well, you know what? It's a matter of choice. That's what it is. So for me, 5 years ago, I was living in New Jersey. I had done all these things. I had this great looking resume on paper, and I was extremely unhappy. And I mean, I'm talking about like that dark night of the soul, guttural, unhappiness. And I literally just had to say to myself, okay, are you going to move forward and live your life as you were meant to live it here on this planet or not? And for me, that was literally a life or death decision. And that's why I have so much compassion for people, because I understand pain. A lot of times, I for a while, I was calling myself like a warrior or a goddess.
Yes, okay.
But you know what? I don't call myself those things anymore. And I don't call myself a goddess because it seems separate from other people.
Oh, okay, I get it.
I don't call myself a warrior because I really don't want to fight. I want to heal. You know what I'm saying? And there's a term, I don't know if you've heard of it, called a chiron. And a chiron is a wounded healer.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's who I am, and that's where I come from, and that's how I can touch and reach people, because I even though I haven't experienced the same things that other people might have experienced, I come from a place of compassion, and that is what gives me the strength to help people in whatever situation they might be in.
I think empathy is just as valuable as living it.
Yeah.
If you have an ally who can recognize something that's going down that's not positive and wants to help that situation, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to go through everything.
Well, but see, that's called being human.
Yes.
That is what humanity is. And I remember seeing, look, little kids, when kids see something or they feel something, they cry.
Yes.
And as adults, or as we get older, we're taught not to do that. And I don't think that that's right.
I agree with you. I don't get that either.
So it's like when I drive through Skid Row here in LA, that makes me cry.
Yeah.
Because it's completely unacceptable. And for anybody who doesn't know, who's watching, Skid Row is this blocks and blocks and blocks of homeless people who live in this tent village on the street, and we drive through that going to work or going to meetings or whatever it is, and there's this whole microcosm that's happening there, and LA has the largest number of homeless veterans in the United States. So to drive through that and put some kind of blinders on and pretend like we don't see that, I mean, I can't do that.
Me either.
I can't do it.
I want to share something with you, actually. It's kind of funny. You're inspiring me to tell you the story, a quick story. I had a guest on the show who told me, when you drive, you're here in LA, it's all about traffic. And you're all gonna get somewhere.
Right.
But there's times when you're driving on a street, a crowded street, and then a homeless person suddenly decides to cross, not at a crosswalk. And they may be mentally challenged, may not be, whatever. And everybody's honking, everybody's getting upset. He said his mind changed because he sees that a lot. He goes, you know what it is? They just want to be seen.
Yeah.
And he goes, and it taught him compassion about everybody else in the world. That one of the basic human things that we want to know is that we're being seen and heard.
Yes, and I experience that with kids all the time. There's an amazing place out here that I help to support that's called the Boyle Heights Youth Technology Center, which is right outside of Skid Row. And it's for at-risk kids. And see, this is going to actually make me start crying. Because I have to tell you a story.
Yeah, tell me.
So it's for at-risk kids who've already been in trouble. Some are, on parole or what have you. And they focus on art and music and technology. And I was there in October, and I met a young man named Anthony Nelson. And I'm tearing up because I know his sister is going to watch this, because I'm going to share it with her. Anthony was 20 years old, in the music program, had these, his headphones around his neck. He saw the hat that I have, which is the gun, about stop gun violence, and he liked it. I gave it to him. I have him on camera advising people that we need to stop gun violence and that we need to stop killing each other. And he says the bodies are piling up, and that was October, and he was dead by December. So when people and I helped to raise money for his funeral, and his sister who just graduated, and congratulations. Yeah, she lost her best friend not long before that, also to violence, and buried them next to each other. So this is, when people like you were talking about, giving up other things you've done in your life, finding your calling. And people, if I'm a spaz, it's because of this.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yes.
I'm so determined because these kids are losing their lives. And the way that relates to what you were just saying about wanting to be seen, when I go to the Boyle Heights Youth Technology Center, these kids are absolute gurus. When you ask them questions about life, they will tell you the answers.
I'm sure.
They have the answers because they have such a sense of compassion, and they've been through so much. I've interviewed them about, just this one thing about gun violence, but there's so many other things that they experience. And then one girl, her name is Shy, and I asked her on camera about gun violence. She's like, oh, when I was 13, oh, when I was 10, oh, I think the first time was when I was 5. She said, after a while, you just get used to it, and you're waiting for the next person to get smoked. But the thing is that just listening to them, and this is part of my mission, is to let voices be heard where they're not otherwise heard, because they are so valuable to our society, and particularly young Black millennials who have people who've been through stuff, done stuff. They're not afraid to talk about stuff. We have so much to learn from them, and they're minimized in our society, but their voices are so important. And I'm kind of gonna go slightly off topic, but when I'm thinking about this, because it's been so heavy on my mind, we just passed June 1st, which was the anniversary of the demise of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And anyone who doesn't know this, you got to know, 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma, there were 600 businesses, 15,000 Black people in a 36 block, area. And it was thriving. There were 6 private planes, 20-something churches, this Black community. It was segregated, but it was absolutely thriving. And the people they bombed this city, and they literally burned every single house to the ground. They went with shotguns and shot as many people as they could. They looted their homes because they had such amazing stuff, pianos and jewelry, and then burned this entire city to the ground. And that's what we as Black people are up against. But I think Black Wall Street is such an example in a way of social entrepreneurship, because I think anything that a Black person does business-wise that has a positive impact on his or her community, our community, that is social entrepreneurship.
It is. And it's funny because I've had I've been very blessed to have this show, because I've met many people who are in our communities doing positive things. I think of Ron Finley, who's the gardener gangster. He's in the community planting gardens. Right,
and that is so important
here in LA.
So important.
And it's like to see, because I have a garden in my house. I love gardening. That's my sanctuary. But this thing about just showing kids how to tend to something.
Yes.
To care about something.
Yes.
That's the basic level.
It is.
Because they're not getting it from home sometimes.
Yes.
Or from their peers, or from the teachers, or like you said, like we always say, you fix a child now, you don't have a broken man or woman later.
Right. Well, that's like when I see people throw garbage in the area where they live. To me, that means you've literally given up on life.
Right.
You don't care about yourself. You don't care about community. And the motto for Stop Stuff is be yourself, change the world.
Yeah.
And like I said, that comes from my own experience of just becoming fully self-actualized myself 5 years ago. And what I do know is that the moment I made that decision to love myself completely and live in my destiny, my entire life changed.
I completely agree with that.
Yes.
Seriously. No,
it's a decision.
It is a decision. And it's funny because my girl used to always say to me, may she rest in peace, Miss Arthuretta, not all money is good money. And she used to say, I'm a girl.
Oh my God, I love that saying.
I see, but at first I was like, girl, you're crazy. What are you talking about? I grew up in the 80s, I make some money. And I learned when I was making $100,000 a year, my stomach hurt every single day. When I quit that job, my stomach stopped hurting literally like 2 hours later. Not even, excuse my language, shitting you.
No, I totally understand.
No,
and another reason that statement is so important in social entrepreneurship, not all money is good money. I'm not going to take, there's not all money that I want. Now, can I use money to expand this business and do what I need to do? Absolutely. But I don't know, there's this thing about you have to know what your why is. My why, that is the most important thing in my life. Yes. And so I need people who want to work with me, support me, finance me, who truly believe in the why. If they don't believe, I don't want that money.
I agree. I completely agree with that. Because it is important who you keep your company with.
Yes, it is. And that's another thing in terms of kids. It's funny that you say that, because I was thinking really strongly about that also the other day, because, who you keep your company with, it really does rub off on you.
It does.
So, and I think I really didn't recognize that until I was an adult, I have to say.
Same here.
I've
not even an adult. I was in my 40s, I think I realized that. I'm like,
okay, exactly. But I've kept a really good crowd, really, my whole life.
Me too.
But then if you're around people who don't accept responsibility for their own lives, then that can start to rub off on you. You know what I'm saying?
Or people who, they can be super nice, they can be super sweet, but there's for me, it's no ambition, there's no drive.
Yes.
There's no, you're super nice, it's good for you. I mean, everybody's different. Like you said, be yourself. I'm not asking you to be anything else, just that
But also, you can be yourself over there, and not near me.
Yes, exactly. And it's so funny, because my brother and I had this discussion last night about because yesterday, my best friend Michelle, was her birthday yesterday. Shout out to Michelle. She bought me this shirt for my birthday last month.
Happy birthday.
I've known her 23 years. And I was saying, my brother's like, you actually have some really good friends. So I do have about maybe 10 of us that we've been friends for 20+ years. And they're all doing amazing stuff. We're all different. And then we're all in different parts of the country. We're all doing amazing stuff. I love hearing things that are going on for them. And I did a post on Facebook the other day. I was saying, I like hearing about my friends' successes, no matter what size they are.
Of course. Now, see, the benefit of having grown up in Westport, Connecticut, is that I grew up in that environment that did rub off on me.
Good.
You understand what I'm saying? So if I'm a young black kid, growing up in, let's say, certain areas of Chicago, it makes it more difficult. Like, you have to find those people, or you have to have mentors who are actually coming to your community, who've been there. There's a social responsibility in that too.
Yeah, there is.
But I was very lucky, because I grew up in an environment that made me, I don't know, I don't want to say this word, but it's the only word that's coming to me. It's like and when you grow up in an area like that, there's a sense of entitlement, meaning you have expectation that you will be successful, expectation that you will be educated, expectation that you will have money. This is just normal. And it's a good thing, actually, because you just have it in your mind. This is normal.
Well, it's funny. I grew up in South Central LA, so I grew up not rich or anything. But it's funny. My father is from Louisiana. And he's one of 5 boys. My grandmother was one of those who came to California with her 5 boys, with fried chicken, she said, on a train. And they settled in Compton.
Right.
And, and each of the sons are they're super achievers. Like, each of the sons has gone on, including my father, have gone on to great things.
And why do you think that happened?
Because it started with her.
There we go.
Because she was she was a janitor part-time. She was a housemaid for these rich folks in Hollywood. She showed us
So what you just said is she was an entrepreneur.
She was.
Right?
She was
an entrepreneur. That was the best.
She struck out on her own. She struck out on her own.
Yes.
Well, actually, both my grandmothers. My other grandmother, too, came to California without benefit of husband and kids and started on her own. So we always saw that. And so personal life would be the greatest. But professionally, I saw very much how hard they worked.
Yes.
And so many of our generation, we're all successful in varying degrees of what we do, too, because we get the example of the start. Anyway, it always starts from the top.
Yeah, and and I had that same experience going back to my grandparents. So my grandmother, Rosalind, she in the 70s, she was valedictorian of her high school. She got academic scholarships that did not pay for books, so she couldn't go to college. Wow. She actually went to nursing school. But in the 70s, she started the Michigan Institute for Child Development. She had like 6 campuses before she died, educating kids from 1st through 12th grade, taking them on trips around the world, bringing in leaders and mentors, doing things, exposing them. You had to call everyone Mr. or Mrs. No pronouns were now allowed, and only excellence was accepted. And that's how I was raised. I was raised that only excellence is accepted. And by the way, that's a very difficult way to grow up. It was very, very, very hard, and I had to kind of have a lot of recovery around that, so that I could then accept it in a way that feels good for me. But it's so important to know that you can achieve the best.
That's why I try to show. I have a grandson graduating high school next week.
Wow.
I have 3 grandchildren. I have 2 grown daughters. Both my daughters graduated college. Very proud of both of them. But I have 3 grandchildren, and my oldest grandson is graduating high school. You know, it's black folks, how we age. It's all my goatee, the gray. And I'm really excited to see what happens with him. My niece Haley just graduated magna cum laude from Hampton University in Virginia.
Oh, nice. I went to
Haley.
Howard. Excellent. I mean, we call that the first HU,
yes,
as you know. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of her. She's back home in LA now, going to go to USC, get her master's. So I'm watching my next generation, after next generation now, start to blossom. It's very exciting because I get worried. I get nervous. I do volunteer also in certain places, and I get nervous.
You get nervous about what?
That this generation will fall apart. I mean, they need to. You know,
they're not gonna fall apart.
But I think they're not. I'm getting more and more. I'm feeling better about things. But first for a while, I was really just like, I hope they can really pull us together, because I mean, hopefully, if I'm lucky, I'll be around for another 30 years. But it really is for them. They're the ones who will be taking over.
Yeah. And I don't have any children or grandchildren. So I say my children are the children of the world.
Yes.
And I had a vision of myself when I was a young kid of me being with all these little brown kids, and it's literally coming to pass. Yeah. But you know, when I say that they're not going to fail, first of all, we are not going to let them fail. That's number one. Number two is they actually believe. The thing about millennials is that they care mostly about 2 things. One, about being better people.
That's true.
And they are avid consumers of self-help material, which I found so interesting. And then the second thing is that they truly believe that we can change the world together. 74% of millennials actually contribute to nonprofits with money or time. And there was actually a really interesting survey that Bank of America did recently where I think that was the same number, 74 or 75% of millennials believe in investing in social enterprise. And that's, they're way ahead of most of the rest of us who might not even know what a social enterprise is. And getting to social enterprise, and I find this very interesting for me because I have a social enterprise and a nonprofit, and some people get really, I think, confused or uncomfortable about what social enterprise is. I mean, a social enterprise is an organization geared to make money. But it's geared to make money while changing the world, while helping people. And it's really important, that structure, because charity, if you're a charity, you're depending on others to give to you. Every year, you're depending on these contributions and what have you. A social enterprise is put in place because a social enterprise is scalable and sustainable. So the kind of change that I'm trying to make, I'm trying to scale the change. I'm not trying to have a little mini nonprofit over here that does this. This is why I have the background that I have. There's no better person to do what I'm doing right now than me.
Well, okay, kids. And good night, everybody. We'll talk to Mike. See you guys later. It's nice knowing you guys. See you later.
Exactly. That's it.
Exactly. No, I like that.
But that thing about social enterprise, people, I find it so interesting. And I think that there might be a little bit of, the way kind of black people look at it, that I should just be doing this for free, or you have no idea how many people are like, oh, is that half for free? No, that's not for free. No. I'm trying to fund a business and fund a movement.
Yes.
And social enterprise, it's very interesting. If you look at what's happening in Canada and even the UK, it's so much more acceptable. And there's even I don't know if you ever heard of social franchising, but that is something that I intend to do with Stop Stuff. So imagine having Stop Stuff franchised all around the country, and each franchise is focused on issues that affect that community.
I like that.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to do that.
You are. I have no doubt.
Yes.
I have no doubt, girl. I have no
I'm
doubt.
doing it.
I have no doubt. I want to say hi to everybody who's watching right now live. I want to say hi to you guys. Hello. I'm glad you guys tuned in. This is Sunday evening. We're having some testimony happening here today.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so it's going to lead into. We're going to talk. I can talk to you all day. So I want to hit some points though.
Okay.
Because it's good. So, social enterprise in action using apparel, live events, and brand sponsorship to support a national platform for real social change.
That's
is what
right.
Stop Stuff Daily is about. So I want to hit each of these 5 points because I think they're very important.
I don't even know what they are.
I'm going to tell you, girl.
See, so much. The one thing about being a social entrepreneur is so much changes.
Yeah, sure.
So
I'm
curious to hear what the 5 points are.
Okay, get ready. Okay, so the mission, and you can tell me if it's changed or anything since then. Empower people to change the world by creating 1 million leaders, activists, and social entrepreneurs.
That's absolutely true.
So that's still true. Okay. The second one is, and you kind of touched upon it a little bit already so far, the problem. Millennials are motivated by service and belief we can change the world. We just talked about it. But here's what I want you to kind of expand on. Advertising does not influence them. They're obsessed with self-improvement and value authenticity over content.
That's
How about
right.
that?
Yeah. So people look down on millennials these days, people like us who, well, actually not us, because you and I have done multiple things in our careers, but there are a lot of people who've had careers for, by the time they get to us, like, I don't even know what that feels like.
Me neither. Mine was like, actually, 40 years in a job, and all of a sudden,
and
retire.
that's now old school. That doesn't happen anymore. And millennials, they move around, but one of the main reasons they move around is because they look at life differently. They look at life more than just about having a job or even having a career, but when they're someplace, they want to know, how am I contributing? So if you're working for an organization where they feel like, oh, I'm working great, but we as an organization and I get a chance to contribute to the community, then that's where people want to stay. So that's the big difference between kind of, then and now. And what I've done with Stop Stuff is try to make it easy to participate. So you can participate by buying, Stop Stuff gear. Knowing that 15%.
People love that.
Yeah. So 15% of the proceeds go to organizations that are successfully stopping stuff we all agree we want to stop, like gun violence, homelessness, poverty, child abuse, human trafficking, right? And like I said, I have a background in the pharmaceutical industry, which makes me uber focused on outcomes. So it's like, so when 100,000 Stop Stuff hats are sold, $375,000 is going into the nonprofit community. What does the nonprofit community need? Not another nonprofit. They need money. Their money, especially these days where everything is getting cut and cut and cut. They need funding so that they can do what they do best. And some organizations are doing a tremendous job.
They are. But you mentioned advertising as an influence, because you think, I'm in Hollywood, so advertising's everything, of course. That 18 to 14.49 or that 18 to 34, and that men, women, so they don't really care so much.
Yeah, no, and not even, sometimes there have been instances, I don't know if you remember this, it was about a year or so ago, U2 put out an album, and they gave, I don't remember if it was the album or if it was a song, to everyone on iTunes, and all the iTunes people were like, I didn't say I wanted that song. Do you know that I like that music? Do I want, excuse me, I don't want that. It's like you're telling them what they should like. No, I'm not trying to do that. So the thing, about Stop Stuff, there's an opportunity for advertisers to not sell, but to empower. Okay? So I'm saying, creating, I have this, the Each One, Teach One, Uplift One tour. So that's a national tour where we're focused on celebrity influencers, which could be entertainers or athletes, or it could be business people or people who've, people who've been through stuff, done stuff, and aren't afraid to talk about stuff. To create a conversation with millennials that says, you too can become self-empowered. I was on heroin, or I was raped, or my mother was shot, and I've been through that experience that you're going through now. So it's bringing back the concept of mentorship from the perspective of a mentor is not somebody who is a perfect person, but somebody who's been through obstacles, overcome them, and will continue to do so. So if I'm a sponsor, if I'm Colgate, or if I'm CVS, or if I'm Walgreens, and I've sponsored this event where millennials leave feeling ignited and empowered and strengthened, and they're ready to step in, take that next step into, their calling. What now? What kind of toothpaste or whatever am I going to buy? The one that they actually did something for me. They didn't try to sell me toothpaste. They tried to change my life and make my life better.
It's funny. I am a huge, you're speaking my language right now. I'm a huge proponent of the village mentality.
Yes.
It's what all the time on my shows. We are lacking that in many ways here in America, and especially our communities. Other races do it all the time. Asians, Latinos. They'll live 20 in a house, all work together in that house, and then by the time each one is grown, they have a house. They have a house like Oprah. You get a house. You get a house. I mean, you have a car. You have a car. Like, they really do. But they just shop at their own businesses.
That's right.
They promote their own. I mean, like,
I'm so glad you're saying
this.
I'm
like, we need to. I mean, I have these discussions in Uber cars and Uber drivers.
Me too.
How it's like, as Black people, we come from a history of the village works together. The elders help the younger people help these people in the middle, everyone's sharing their experience to make the whole village better and brighter.
Integration kind of messed us up.
It did, but and also this whole idea, and I'm a little mini rant, my whole idea of this, there's one slot for that one dark-skinned Black man. Go. So we're all fighting each other.
Yeah.
Why don't we just say, screw that? And have there's 20 slots for us. Screw them. Let's create the spots.
Well, that's why I say integration has kind of messed us up. So, the real importance of what you're just talking, or what you're describing right now, is the dollar. Do you know that the dollar stays in the Black community for less than 6 hours?
I know. I know.
A dollar goes in and it's immediately goes out. In the Asian community, I think it stays for 20 hours, and in the white community, I think it stays for 17 hours. So and that's going back to my story about Black Wall Street. Do you know that money there, a dollar, stayed on Black Wall Street for like a year? I know. Hello. Hello. What are we talking about here, right?
Seriously. And the thing, for me, it's like, why is it, why we create a lot of products anyway for the masses? Why aren't we harnessing that more? And then not just that, why aren't we supporting that more?
Well, that's the key.
That's the key. Because we are creating those businesses.
And I've had these conversations,
me too.
On Facebook and whatever too. And everyone's like, oh, I went to that one Black business and I didn't get good service. So I'm like, oh, so you're telling me you've never gone to a white-owned business and didn't get good service, but then you still went back to that same store?
Let me sip my tea.
Exactly. Like, that really gets on my nerves. I have to tell you.
I had to tell somebody, okay, one of our live viewers, I am so sorry I butchered your name. I'm going to say your first name because I believe it's what it is. If it's Michael, says, super proud of you, Seanne.
Oh, I know who that is.
Okay.
Mikhail from the Boyle Heights Youth Technology Center. And he is one of the most amazing people. He's one of these people. He has devoted his life to these kids.
You gotta come on my show. I'm giving you an open invitation to come on my show.
And he has such an he has an amazing story.
Okay.
He got cancer at Mikhail. I'm gonna say I might be a little wrong. 2 years old. And he had his leg amputated by, I think, 5 years old.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so he is a cancer
Well, I'm
survivor.
giving you an open invitation to come on my show. So find a way to contact him. James Lott Jr. everywhere on social media.
No, I got it. I will.
Okay,
we'll text. Yeah,
okay, we need to be on my show.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But he says we're proud of you, Seanne.
Thank you.
Oh, it's so fun. But no, if we band it together, that's why some white folks are scared of us. Because if we came together,
but we're doing it.
I'm saying, we mean seriously. I want the point that we come together.
Yes, we have
what
to.
Amazing things will come out. What power will come out of that?
Yes, and the thing is, see, that Black Wall Street story is so important because those people, they did it. And then they lost their lives, they lost their homes. Imagine if that had not happened, how that Black Wall Street would have been repeated over and over again.
Well, here's the thing, girl. There are parts, Atlanta is now becoming like the second Hollywood.
Like film, yeah.
Seriously. It's like, it's really coming up there. And I love Atlanta, so I have a good time I go there. But Atlanta, there are other parts.
This is why I love
Chicago.
Everybody who knows me knows I have a love affair with Chicago.
So do I do too.
I have a love affair with men from the Midwest who are amazing. They are the most amazing men in the United States.
I love the Midwest. I love the Midwest.
But the Chicago has that feel, and I went to law school in Philadelphia. Philadelphia had it too.
Yes,
where
Philly,
you have,
yes.
and I gotta say, LA, I'm really missing that. And maybe I just don't know where it is. But there's this in Chicago, this black community of power brokers, and they support each other. Like they get together and they support and they do this and that. Where LA, all that Hollywood, all that blah blah blah. Like I don't have time for blah blah. I don't have time for people who are telling me they're gonna do stuff and then they don't do. Like I've made my circle here. I don't even know if I have a circle here anymore now.
It's a crescent. It's a crescent.
It's so small because I need people in my life. Going back to what was that thing that you said about how people you rub off on people?
Yes, the company you keep.
The company you keep.
Yes.
There's a small community in LA of company that even should be considered being kept. I'm just gonna say that's horrible.
M. Dayton says, "Hey Sean, great information being given here."
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, no, I agree with you. So I'm like, okay, so part of the 5 points. Okay, number 3.
Okay.
We did the mission is the problem. Now the solution. Apparel with powerful branding to support social causes by providing 50% to nonprofits. Right. Utilizes live events to sell a product, of course. Provide brands with opportunities to market by supporting empowerment, social entrepreneurship, and activism. What I want to ask you, number 1, how did you come to 15%? How did that number come to you?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
you know what? I saw that most companies do 10%, and I wanted to do more. That's that answer. Now, apparel, okay, this is a question I want to ask you too, because apparel is big. I wear all kinds of apparel for people. People send me stuff, I wear it. I'm like, if it's a cause I support. I shout out to my girls who do I Believe for Autism. I wore the shirts and I did all those like that. Apparel's big. People like stuff that's written on there. And it could be hats, shirts, pants, shoes, whatever. Right. Now, how do you feel about the whole Instagram thing? Because Instagram is heavy about people hiring people, sending people stuff to show on Instagram, their stuff. How's that part of your... In a larger picture, is Instagram a great place for that? Oh yeah, I think it's a fantastic place for that. Yeah.
So there's live events. There's
So so my Instagram is at Seanne Murray, SeAnnenMurray, and people can go onto my Instagram and it's funny, and I know it's like I'm supposed to have a separate Stop Stuff Instagram, and I do, but I don't do that much on it, and the reason is because I like having, my company, my business, who I am.
You're living it.
All as one thing. And one of the things about being a woman is that people love to try to define who you are and what you should be. You can't be a businesswoman and be sexy and be fun and be oh yes I can, and that's what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to ever apologize for who I am or what I do or how I do it. And I know that's kind of a weird answer to this simple question about Instagram, and I talk about Black Wall Street on Instagram. I talk about fashion. I talk about all kinds of stuff. But I want to, Stop Stuff is representative of you be you. That's why I say be yourself, change the world. So I'm the example of be yourself, change the world. Yeah. And, the social enterprise that we're talking about, which is the apparel, is one part. And the nonprofit side is the side that is the million leaders, activists, and social entrepreneurs. And I really see that it's an incubator. An incubator, we normally think of technology incubators. This is a social incubator for change.
Yeah. I like that. No, I love all your answers. They're good. So they're good. But
they're real. They are what they are.
They're real, and that's the thing. I know that Instagram is a big proponent of, more so than other social media. That's like the big thing now. People. I have some friends who are doing great stuff with larger men. They're doing some things, and I love all of them. I love it. And I'm in Inglewood. I live in Inglewood. Social people in Inglewood are doing some stuff with apparel, which I wear their clothes. Arbor Village. Shout out to you guys. I love it.
One of the interesting things that has happened through Instagram and Facebook too is that I've had, like, the guy who just sent us a note, M. Dayton. He did this beautiful photograph of Stop Stuff hats.
Oh wow!
And I have the photograph. Actually, it's on my website. It's on. It's this beautiful artistic photo. I've had people create artwork that represents Stop Stuff, because and I love that, because I feel like when artists come in and start supporting you, to me that really means something.
Art is very important. Don't get me started on art. I'm an artist myself. I love art. I paint. I write. I think art is just as important to society as politics, law, health, science. in many ways, it fuels all those other things.
Absolutely. And and then you're in media, and that's what media does, and movies. And one of my newest board member for Stop Stuff is Rosanna Arquette. And she's just this amazing woman, or her whole family.
Yes, whole family, yes.
You know, they have activism that just runs through their family. She's a major advocate against human trafficking, and I have actually a Stop logo that I haven't released yet that's specifically for human trafficking.
Wow.
But she's a woman who, I met with her. She immediately kind of grabbed on to what it is that I'm doing here, and she believes in it, and she's a supporter of it. And I'm looking for actively right now a really strong, powerful Black woman to be on my advisory board.
Folks.
Yes.
Out there.
Yes.
Now, what you also, your fourth point is dual business structure. So Stop Stuff Daily, the C Corp, manages the apparel line, hosts brand, sponsors live events. Stop Stuff Institute is the foundation, funds other nonprofits, supports development of leaders and social entrepreneurs. I like that. They have kind of an education thing going on. Then you have the apparel and branding, all that stuff going on.
Right,
I like that.
And I kind of call it all Stop Stuff now. Some of those names I haven't used lately, but there's stopstuff.com and there's stopstuff.org, and the dual structure is what we've been discussing. And that social enterprise part, I just can't stress enough that to make real quantifiable change, we have to focus on sustainability and scalability, and you can only do that with business, not with charitable organizations.
Yeah, that's true. Let's show a couple pictures. So this first one's with Mr. Smokey Robinson, who, I don't know how old he is, but he looks great.
He does.
Those eyes are still light.
Yes.
I was like, he's got those light eyes, and so he's wearing the one with the gun.
Yeah, and Smokey, I have there's an interview on the Stop Stuff YouTube page where he's talking about, I asked him sort of in the vein of the Stop Stuff, each one teach one, what are the things that are important to him in his life.
He's from Detroit, and he's from, the projects.
And he said a funny thing, because I asked him, I said, have you ever experienced gun violence? And he's like, oh, and he calls everybody baby, right?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, baby. He's like, only a few times when we were on the touring bus and they shot at us, but nothing really, and it was just he was like, oh, that was normal, just we're on the tour bus in the 60s.
In the 60s, exactly.
But he literally normalized what it is. I thought it was just such a funny thing.
The Family Meeting Radio Show says, speak girl.
Who's that?
The Family Meeting Radio Show.
Oh, that's Eric. He's in Chicago. He is one of those people in Chicago. Eric, I love you.
I got to have you on my show, too.
You do. He's fantastic, and he's somebody who he comes through. He went to Howard.
Okay.
He comes through on everything he says he's going to do.
We got to talk. I have a radio show you'll be great for.
Yeah, and he has his own radio show in Chicago.
So
he's amazing.
You can call. We got to talk.
Yeah, and he actually brought to the table the Dr. Lonnie Allen, who is the Chief Academic Officer of Urban Prep Academies in Chicago. Do you know that school?
No.
That's the one that has 100% graduation rate and 100% enrollment into college, all young Black men. Wow. And this guy's the Chief Academic Officer, and he was mentored by Eric. So see, that's that cycle I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's so sweet. It's
so
beautiful.
I'm plugged in. I don't know about LA, but I don't know about LA. I'm plugged in.
Yes.
Okay, not that picture. That's not. Show another picture, please. You think it's the third one? Is there one more? That's only two?
What was the other one? Do you know?
I can't remember. I thought I had... Oh, was it really the hat? That's it? Okay, well, never mind. We saw the one with Smokey. That's fine. Okay, now the fifth thing is just kind of fun. And I want to ask you what you've done with these. Live events. Talk to people who've been through stuff. I like the word stuff.
Yes.
Done bad stuff.
Yes.
And are afraid to talk about stuff.
Yes.
Share stories, ask questions, converse, and perform.
Yes.
Here's what's funny. I started doing, I've been doing this for years, and I started, I'm an interviewer, and my followers and fans know that I do share some of my personal life when it pertains to the subject I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And but sometimes I even surprise myself. And the other day, and I have no problem saying this, the other day, I had a guest on my show who did a short film where a rape victim had to talk to their rapist to catch him. Mm-hmm. And it's a two-person piece. It's powerful. It's called Pretext. Go on YouTube. It's really good. And she wrote it, starred in it, produced it. It's just amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'm a victim of rape. Mm-hmm. Or I should say a thriver of rape at this point, because it's been years. I've survived it, a violent act. And it's like, so talking about it. So it's kind of funny. I've learned now, because of that, I've actually been invited to speak at different places about it, and so now I'm actually talking about stuff, and that's part of my stuff.
And that's part of your journey.
Part of my journey,
Yes.
and so now I'm learning that part of this, like the last piece of me, I guess. I'm learning of that.
Yes.
It's okay to share it, talk about it, where I found a place for it in my life, kind of what that means. So you said live events, so you're like talking about speaking engagements, could be concerts, right? Could be
yes, and it's all about that engagement that you're talking about. So it's having people who are authentic, who will reveal their stories.
Yes.
You know, and I'm a very, very open person. I'm a writer too, and I've been published in Elite Daily. I have an article in Elite Daily about having an abortion when I was in college.
Yeah.
And that all these women, you know, reached out to me after that, some who had never ever told their stories, saying to me, either wanting to just share their story with me privately, or just thanking me for being so open about sharing it. I mean, we've all been through. If you're somebody and you're trying to talk to me like you haven't done something, you definitely have. You're just a liar.
Yes.
Just let's
or
be
you're
real
super
about
afraid.
it. Yes, or you're afraid. And I used to be that way.
Me
and
too.
you know, black people, we're raised like, don't tell that.
That's
and
very
now
true.
I'm like, I want to tell it
Oh,
all.
it
is the best thing ever. Whatever you want to know, I'm going to tell it.
I lost a brother last year in August. I miss him every single day.
I'm sorry
Max.
to hear that.
And so, but his death, what his death did for me, because we were super close, we're only a year in age. And I was the one who found out he died. I didn't tell my whole family. So it was one of those things where now I'm very much in tune to my emotions. You know, more so. I was already there. I was always coming from center anyway. I believe coming from center. But with him dying, and the fans know, they see me cry on TV, cry on the radio, something. I let it out. And now I've learned I feel so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, I still miss him to death, of course, but I feel so much better as a person that now I'm not afraid to cry in a TV show.
Yeah. And it makes you so much better, but it empowers your whole audience. All those people that are watching you are like, oh, you give permission now. Like, you know what? I see him crying, and then they're like, oh, you know, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because we don't see enough of that, and you certainly don't see that many, you know, black men doing that. And like I said, we've been taught to be very closed, and the reason we were taught to be closed is because we had to protect ourselves from outside harm.
Yes.
And we still do.
We do, and also but the problem is too, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but we're also kind of, the shell is up for our own people too sometimes, because we're so scattered and so out there. A lot of our own people give us labels too.
Yes.
Like, we need a strong black man.
Yes.
But they have to look like this.
Yes.
We're doing it to ourselves.
Yes.
And it's like, no, a strong black man can weep sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like Richard Branson has a great quote where he says something like, you know, the only way to, it's something about being boxed in, and he's like, the only way you can prevent being boxed in is to create, you know, never let anybody else put you in a box. So you have to just be open to who you are. And by the way, the more, and I'm sure you found this, because I definitely have, the more open you are with what you are and what you've done and whatever, people are so accepting of that. Like,
so
you
true.
will feel this amazing love. Oh, and before I forget, and I don't know how much time we have, but I do want to just share briefly that, you know, that I'm a 9/11 survivor, and that has so much to do with why I do what I do. And, you know, I got to experience two things that day. One was the ultimate terror and fighting for survival all day. And then that opened my entire heart. It really did. It opened me. It's like I can never look at I remember thinking, this was one day, so imagine being in the military and PTSD.
Ooh, I know. Oh my
and
God,
you go through that every day, fighting for your survival and watching people die and what have you.
Yeah.
And then the second part of what I learned, this was post 9/11, I experienced the most beautiful love I have ever experienced in my life. We were walking around New York City, literally, we're on the subway, silent, number one, looking at each other like, I love you.
Interesting.
I know what you've been through. I have compassion for you. We're going to get through this together. It was like multicolored roses were falling from the sky for several months. And because of that experience, I know what we can do. I've been there. I had that experience, so I know 100% for sure that it's possible.
Yeah. It's funny. I lost a cousin at the Windows of the World restaurant. So in 9/11, it's funny because I remember going to that restaurant. I used to be afraid of heights, and it was all windows, literally
best views,
best views
ever, yeah.
And I went there a couple of times to visit him, and I actually lost him there. So it's kind of I'm glad you were able to make it through.
Thank you.
Because and that makes sense. You went through something that changed your life, and now you want to affect change with others.
That's exactly right.
More people should be doing that. Now, I asked my guests to say, because we're almost out of time, which I can talk to you forever and ever. You have to come back. You just have to come back.
Okay.
I asked if folks who watch my show know, I ask the same 2 questions for every guest.
I should have looked this
up. Every time I do this, but I should have watched the end of the show.
God.
I don't prep them. As you can see, I don't prep them.
I like being unprepped.
Yes.
Actually.
Well, this one's about language. Okay. I'm sure you kind of looked at me because you're a lawyer and everything. You know about language. What word do you think we should not say anymore in the English language? To get out of our vocabulary.
The first word that came to my mind was nigger.
Wow. Okay.
That's the first word that came to my mind, and I know there's a lot of controversy around it.
Yes, there is. And recently, especially.
Yes, and Bill Maher is learning a very important
lesson
right now about what he cannot say, and sometimes people get way too comfortable with what they think
folks,
they can say.
You have 8 other words you can use, a million words you use. So there's some words, I'm sorry, it's double standard, I don't care, you can't use it.
Yeah, but if we could get rid of that word, I mean, I know that the rap community and what have you has accepted it, and I understand that. I really do, and I have no issue with that. But if we could just act like that word never existed, a word that was just created to demean us as much as possible, to dehumanize us, that would be the word that I would choose.
I would invite again, I love me some hip hop and rap. I just wish that I'd like to invite them to come to some plantations. I'd like them to go to the Caribbean and go see where the slaves were brought here, or go to West Africa and see the line where once you cross that line, you were no longer an African name, you were given another name.
That's right.
I wish they could go and see that personally and see how they feel about saying that word today. I think everyone should experience that.
Yes.
I mean, it's about weeping. I've wept totally crazy. I mean, look at the sheets where they're saying, Negro, good teeth, strong hands. Like we're broken
penis,
down.
All kinds of stuff.
Broken down into bits.
Yes.
I wept like a child when I saw that stuff.
Yes, and see, we don't hear the good stuff. Are you familiar with who Mansa Musa is?
Yes.
Okay, so people, Mansa Musa.
Yeah.
Everybody know this is one of my goals in life, is for every black person to know who Mansa Musa is. A Malian king who lived in the 1300s, who is the richest human being to have ever lived. Ever. Worth, I think they estimate $450 billion. The Rothschild family is number 2. Warren Buffett is like number 26. Yeah. He's the only person ever to single-handedly impact the value of gold.
Yes, that's crazy.
Because he gave away so much gold. Yeah. He was going to the pilgrimage when he was doing this. So he was a Muslim. I'm actually practicing Ramadan right now, and I'm not a Muslim, but I wanted to do it this time to increase my compassion and my sense of gratitude. And it is absolutely doing that.
It works. Oh, wow, good. Okay, now the other word I'm asking is, what word do you say more of these days?
Love.
I like that word because to me, love is underrated.
But I want to add a caveat to that.
Please do.
So I'm not sure that's the right answer. It was the first thing that came to me, but I would love for the word love to be said with meaning. So in some ways the word is overused. So,
love you mean it, that kind of stuff.
So I'm saying I would enjoy hearing the word love used when we really truly mean it.
Well, I loved having you on my show.
I loved being here.
I mean, seriously. Seanne Murray, you guys, it's Stop Stuff. I guess .org and .com.
That's right. StopStuff.com. One goes to the other.
One goes to the other. So they all go together. They're all integrated. So you can do one or the other. So either one.
Yes.
And I'll have her back on the show. Well, we're going to talk. Well, she's not done with me. Not this. We're not going to agree to me that easily. We're going to work it out. You can follow us on Facebook under Breaking Into. There's a page there. Her stuff's on there also, and I'll be posting more stuff of her stuff on that page. Go to Breaking Into on iTunes. You can listen to us and hear our
so
wonderful voice.
About that. I
you
love
listen
that.
to us.
Yeah.
I'll send you a link. Make sure you have the link for that.
Okay.
But you can actually listen to us talking. If you went in the car, you're taking a run, you're on the gym, you can listen to us talking this serious stuff we talked about. Or YouTube. Go to Breaking Into on the Black Hollywood Live page. BHL Online is the Twitter handle. I'm James Lott Jr. at James Lott Jr. She's at Seanne Murray, and that's Seanne Murray, Murray.
Right.
You can follow us there too. And you guys, of course, I have one more show coming up on Tuesday. I talked to a black composer. He does TV and film composing, things like Girlfriends and Being Mary Jane, all these shows he does. I'm talking to him.
Shows.
He has great shows, and he's a wonderful composer. And he's gonna be on Tuesday, and then I'm off for a month. But you guys are so wonderful, and I appreciate every time you guys tune in and watch my shows, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
Thank you. I can talk to you forever. Crazy.
I love
Forever.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram @KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
As a matter of fact,
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.